right? Because the big thing is that I'm a seat person, right? No matter what you're doing, right?
Yep.
If you're in show jumping, or if you're in forward seat or galloping seat, or galloping position, your seat is still an effective thing, even though you might not, you won't, even though you're not sitting down, right? So when I'm talking about seating, I'm not talking about just sitting down. So the thing about it is that you want to think about your body in three different parts, right? Your knee down, all that does is put energy into it, okay, into the system, right? We use that energy as a young horse to go forward, and then later on we use it to go up, okay? And your seat starts above your knee and ends up below your rib cage. That whole thing is your seat, okay? That makes sense, right? Because the reason why that is, you can't move one part of that without moving another part in that section. So if I close my thigh, it affects my stomach. If I move a hip, it affects my thigh, it's moving my stomach. So that whole thing is actually your seat. You can't be independent there, right? You can move that without moving this. You can move this without moving that, okay? And then obviously then from your rib cage up to your shoulders, right, is another section, right? That you end up using for weight, okay, and turning, right? You have a tendency off to the right, when you go into the right, is that you sit off to the left, okay, which is going to make it worse, especially with this cross cantering thing. Yeah. So you got to make sure that when a horse canters, right, anything in the walk and trot, obviously, if you do one side or the other, it doesn't make a difference because you're just working on one side or the other because they move symmetrically, right? But obviously in the canter, they don't move symmetrically, right, because of the lead. So what one hind leg is doing to the other hind leg they're different, right, unlike the walk and trot, right? So you have to think about how a horse canters. And if you watch a horse canter out by himself, like say in a round pen or a paddock or something like that, where do they take their head and neck?
They're usually up. Actually, no, they stretch down.
And they'll
I've
go,
seen them
but
bucking.
which way?
Oh, to the right.
To the outside.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, so they'll go to the outside of the canter, right? So the horse uses his head and neck as a counterbalance, right? So in the end, in their canter, that he'll take, if you watch him canter out naturally, if you throw him in the tender, right? If I was going to the right, he would actually have his head and neck slightly over to the left, okay? You'd need to trade on that, okay? And actually have them don't bend to the inside too soon, okay? Right? So then that allows the inside hind leg to open up. And you also think about in the canter, the inside hind leg is actually kind of the one that actually carries most of the weight. But it's their outside hind leg that actually does a lot of the pushing.
Okay.
Okay, right? So and in the end, that then puts their outside leg underneath them, right? So they have it easier. So if you ever feel him cross canter or about to, bend him to the outside. Okay? Just pure and simple, right? So even in that test, if you lengthen on a circle, right, do no bending in the slightest at any level. 4-star down, okay? You watch a 4-star horse do 20-meter circle lengthen and medium canter, there is no bending, okay, right? And so even when you go down the long side, so even for a young horse, even though you might get a half a mark down, when he goes back and having his haunches actually a tiny bit slightly to the inside, at that level, I would kind of forgive that. But you're going to get a way better score than actually if you cross canters.
Right, okay.
Right? So outside. Okay? Really kind of both ways. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay? So what I want you to do is, I will get on it, but we're going to do some things.
Okay, okay.
You're going to do